The chrysanthemum is the main export variety of the companies in Antioquia. We have great strengths here with this variety, because multiple offers can be made to the final buyer. In terms of size, color, durability, etc. For example, many of the companies that we have in ASOCOLFLORES, such as Jardins de San Nicolas, have extensive exports in international markets, mainly in the United States, because almost all the large surface supermarkets are the main consumers, especially because the chrysanthemum accompanies many different types of bouquets, is one of the qualities. This company was founded more than 30 years ago, and we mainly produce pom-poms and chrysanthemums. Within the lines that there are micro pom-poms, pom-poms, unbuttoned ones, spider, creamin, Mongolian, and there are framed the most of our production. We produce more or less a year around 67 million stems, whose function or purpose goes to the United States by 85%. It is also important to note that in Antioquia, part of the export of chrysanthemums, apart from being cut flowers, many companies are also called breeders, which means that they are in charge of studying the genetics of the flower. So for example, we in Antioquia of floriculture, let's say that all the weeks are denominated by number, and always in week 35 we hold the chrysanthemum week, which is an exhibition of these companies that are dedicated to this technological, scientific study, to exhibit the varieties, and there, well, they choose as those with great commercial power in the international market. In the municipality of La Ceja, the most relevant economic sector is the flower sector. They are a sum of many crops, here settled in eastern Antioquia, especially in the municipality of La Ceja, which is called a municipality and a flower grower and a bicycle dealer. Here in this organization is 471 families. Most of them are mothers who are heads of families and fathers who are heads of families, but we are generating employment, around that number of people, directly and indirectly around 600 people, among them are contractors, exporters, people from the services. Our workers not only come to work, but they come to enjoy themselves, to be happy and make their families happy. We bond not only with the worker, but with his family. As we have achieved from the beginning of the process of selection, we make them fall in love. They fall in love with this sector that is beautiful and that brings so many advantages at all levels. Here at Jardins de San Nicolas we characterize ourselves because the main asset, our main ingredient, are people, and how we see these results, that you go at any time of the day and you the worker, whom I call the warrior, because I take my hat off to them, is a smile. We are in San Nicolas Gardens. This is the rooting area, and this is where the whole process begins, which finally reaches flowering. This is the rooting area. Here the cuttings arrive, which we bring from the propagator farm, which is called Jardins del Sol. In the rooting process then several factors intervene. A substrate intervenes, which is what we take to these trays, and that substrate we use to make these substrates byproducts from different industries. a byproduct from the rice industry. We use rice husks. We use sawdust, a byproduct from the lumber industry. We use soil from the construction industry, which is the soil that is generated when they are going to be done by the different urbanizations. With this substrate we fill the different trays and then we plant the cuttings there. After about 12 to 14 days in this rooting area, the cutting is already rooted. A cutting that comes without root already emits its roots, and from there we go and we take them to the area for preparing beds and planting in the field. My name is Alejandra Cardona. I have been working for the company for 6 years and I work as a planter in the rooting area. It is one of the most beautiful tasks that the company has. One of the main tasks, the cutting comes to us from a propagating farm. After hormone treatment it is not brought by some trays in which it will be planted. Each tray holds 128 cuttings. We sow 28 trays per hour. That is equivalent to 3,300 plants, each one. After sowing the seedlings, we send it along a conveyor belt towards the hydration tunnel. Then the colleague collects some chips that each bucket brings, to take the yields. From there they put it on a pulley and take it directly to the banks, where they already do some processes, so that the little skeleton in 15 days can have a good root. Because the truth is that what I like most about rooting is that from here we see the whole process of the flowers. Here we see that they arrive without the root. It is already seen as a process, when the little skeleton takes root, and finally we can see in the field, reflecting all the work that we do. We grow pom-poms or chrysanthemums. The pom-pom is that product that has different flowers, and the chrysanthemum is the one that only emits a single flower. Now we are going to have the opportunity to see them. It is a 24.5 hectare crop located here in La Ceja, in the path of San Nicolas. Here in the rooting area, cuttings can pass from 12 to 14 days in this area. What conditions should this area have? It must have high temperatures, high relative humidity, and we guarantee relative humidity through sprinkler irrigation, which is all this assembly that you see now, that right now we are going to have the opportunity to see it. We also give it nutrition for certain risks, and also phytosanitary sprays to control the different pests and diseases that occur here in this area. Minimum temperature that we work under this greenhouse is a minimum temperature of about 18 degrees centigrade, and we have reached maximum temperatures of up to 32 degrees centigrade. The ideal humidity is to maintain a relative humidity between approximately 70 and 80% relative humidity, which is what will guarantee that the plants emit very good roots and that the cutting does not dehydrate. Rooting is effectively done under greenhouse conditions, because it is that it gives those ideal conditions for the root to be produced. That is why it must be in an area that is enclosed and with those temperatures and relative humidity that I just told you about, so that good roots are generated in those 14 days that we need. In all the processes we have optimizations at the level of environmental improvements. For example, in this area we have this micro sprinkler where we optimize a large volume of water. In many places in rooting zones there is still manual irrigation with a hose. We do everything through this. The optimization with respect to manual irrigation is 70% of the water. I told you that the substrates with which we make the blogs, we fill the tray, are byproducts. Different industries are already things we are recycling. Better said, the product of other industries is super important here. At Cornair, we have been working on green growth agreements with different productive sectors. One of the sectors we are working with is the flower sector. These green growth and climate change agreements were previously called clean production agreements. Since so they have been changing their name. As we are making progress on all this environmental issue, the central objective of the agreements is the reduction of greenhouse gases. At Cornair, we work with all these productive sectors so that they include within all its processes the reduction of gas emissions. How is progress being made in this? Working on the issue of reducing waste, of a good disposal of it, in reducing water consumption. For example, in these crops, what they do for that, the drip irrigation system, which also by using this system, it reduces the consumption of water, fertilizers, nitrogenous fertilizers, some of which generate greenhouse gas emissions. We make progress in all these processes so that we contribute to the reduction of emissions and thus be able to meet the national goal, which Colombia has a 51% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Previously, it was also watered manually and the very high volumes per bed are gone, and now with drip irrigation we go and optimize that risk for what the plant needs. That is, there is no leftover water, there is no leftover fertilizer. With that we go the optimum volume of water and fertilizer for the different plants. Let's say a crop like ours can produce around 25 tons of waste, usable waste, and we deliver it to the Environmental Management Fund and they make the disposal. That goes over the 200 tons that are processed, and that fortunately is not going to the sanitary landfills, that is going to make a provision to close the circular economy and be able to take advantage of that in plastic, wood, in other types of things that can be, or use them again. For example, the case of cardboard to happen to produce packaging that we return to use. As a result of the issue of climate change, which looks at how we are with the issue of climate, that we do not know when it will rain, when it will be sunny days, we saw the need to optimize the water resource. It is that we have had here some phenomena of the impressive child, where we have a conception of 8.05 liters per second of water that Cornair gives us. And we had times when barely 2 liters reached us, or even the ravine that emerged from the water dried up completely because the water upstairs, other farms took it, seeing that need. So we said we are going to get into drip irrigation, which is a very important investment, high at the beginning, but in a matter of 5 years it is paid off. That investment is paid off, and rather, since we have drip irrigation, it was already child phenomena, the water crises, the highest that the San Nicolas Gardens region has ever had, runs out of water for your plants. After the plants have spent 14 days here, they have already shed their roots. We take it to the planting area in the field. In the planting area in the field, we have the beds and there we do a job of preparing those beds. With machinery, we have a shoveling machine. We do not do it manually, but through a tractor and an implement called shoveler. To these beds, depending on the results of the fertilization soil that we have had from the previous harvest, we give some chemical amendments, either in calcium or in potassium and certain phosphorus to re-nourish the new harvest that we are going to take out. Also, we give some soil improvers such as raw husk or Asa mushroom. We use the compost that we generate right here on the farm and shavings. These are the soil improvers that help us a lot to improve the structure and give it aeration and optimal conditions for that the plants, after we sow them, we take them from here because they have a good development and endure the 10 weeks to 11 weeks of cycle that they have in bed. Colombia, we consider it to be a land of flowers. We are the second largest exporter and producer of flowers in the world. The flower festivals are celebrated in Medellin. The Toldo festivals, bicycles and flowers are celebrated in La Ceja. But in many people they do not know a flower farm from the inside and its process. It is good that they could have the possibility of knowing a flower farm and everything related to the culture of flower production, of those beautiful feelings that we have. We are in the cutting area. There are varieties that are ready to cut at 9 weeks, others at 10 and others at 11 weeks. We have certain conditions or a defined standard for cutting the flower. They must be at least 70 centimeters long. They must have about 5 millimeters in diameter at the stems and 5 flowers or flower buds in the first 10 centimeters from the top of the stems. At least 5 useful flower buds, free of pests and diseases, completely clean, that is, completely healthy. We handle a yield here in the gardens of San Nicolas of 65 bouquets per hour. For the buttoning cut of 55 bouquets per hour, depending on the client. There they go in bouquets of 10 stems, or bouquets of 7 stems, or bouquets of 5 stems, that depends on the client that we are handling at this time. Here then we do as the people who are in the part of behind, to whom we do the work of cutting and hooding the flower. We put it in a hydration solution in a bucket, and from here we take it through the pulley towards the post-harvest, which is the place where we already pack the flower for export. My name is Hugo Albiro Montoya. I have been in the San Nicolas group for 2 years and I work daily as a packer. Here we handle different types of packaging. At that moment we are packing a full for the Amanki client. This variety is called Meisel. It goes by 20 bouquets. The packaging goes 2 floors of 10. I am packing approximately 3,000 to 4,000 bouquets during the day. There are many types of packaging: quarters, fulls, thirds, cigars. We are in the final part of the process. We are in a packing room. Here we basically do a pre-preparation of the flower. Before packing it and putting it in cold room conditions, here the flower, when it enters the field, must remain at least 2 hours in hydration solution. Because the flower comes with certain temperatures, with the sun that it received during the day. Before having that thermal shock and putting it in the cold room at temperatures between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius, the flower must remain here at least 2 hours. Also here we supply the flower, depending on the client for where well, in the different boxes you can use the flower. A single variety or there can be several or bouquets, which in those bouquets we call them consumer bouquets that we make on the band with different flowers in the same bouquet. After we pack it, the cold room is already taken and in the cold room the flower is pre-chilled. We give it a kind of forced cold, so that the flower is very cold inside the box before put it in the trucks. Then in the trucks they are taken immediately to the airport, which is a strategic advantage that we have in flower crops, located here in eastern Antioquia, especially the Rio Negro, La Ceja. The proximity we have to the Jose International Airport Maria Cordova. I think that the chrysanthemum has had, let's say, a bad reputation because many of them have accompanied, in our idiosyncrasy. What are the accompaniments such as funerals, like that sad part, but really everything that is worked here. In the great variety of chrysanthemums that are produced, they are very happy flowers, long-lasting, with very bright colors, and I think it is very rich that as Colombians we are appropriating more of these varieties of ours, which are produced in our area and, which are also we can eat them. When we say that we produce feelings, inspired through flowers, through those feelings they express love, happiness is expressed, gratitude is expressed, pain is expressed for the death of a family member. So many things are expressed because those people, who are producing those feelings, they must be happy, they must be joyful. There are infinities of emotions and feelings that can be expressed through these beautiful flowers, which in the gardens of San Nicolas we call feelings. You are definitely not in the profession, rather, since I was very little I liked the countryside a lot, I really liked nature, and within all the baggage that nature has, I have always loved flowers. Working in the middle of flowers for me is my motivation, it is my passion, I love it, and that is extremely pleasing to me, and I live happily. Really I live happily surrounded by so many flowers and so many beautiful people who work here in San Nicolas Gardens.